Welcome in to the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, real_G Warner. On tonight's episode, we are going through England, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany to find some winners and hopefully put some extra money in your pocket. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, do that. Apple Podcast and on Spotify. It's called Betting the Pitch. If you want to get on the YouTube at the real_G Warner or on any social media platform like Instagram at the real_G Warner, X at the real_G Warner, Twitter if you still call it that at the real_G Warner. And you might have already seen the Need for Seeds college basketball podcast out with A. Brooks bets. Also, corner threes, Jack, and of course, Big East Ben was back. And we recorded that already on Friday. That's why we're a little bit late on the soccer pod today, but, getting it all out there. So we can make some money this weekend. We'll start in England. First matchup of Saturday. As, the coughs are back, unfortunately. Almost healthy. I guess someday. Maybe if it's ever going to happen, maybe it's this weekend. We'll start with Bournemouth, 3-quarter goal favorite. Some dying at home to Sunderland. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's juiced pretty heavily to over right now, minus 124 to plus 108. If you're not a member of BetOnline or SportsBet.ag, hit me up at the real_G Warner. You get a nice 100% bonus to start, and you get 16-cent English Premier League lines, which is the best you can do across literally this entire sport. In terms of movement, I've been tracking this number and tried to do a little bit more of that as we go through the second part of the season, just to really see how the market's changed its mind. We've seen Sunderland actually on the wrong side of things. Bournemouth is getting bet as Sunderland has climbed from a half a goal underdog to 3/4, and the total has pretty much been bet to over, a lot more juice showing up on the over side. And I think that reflects Bournemouth's issues defensively. Them being bet as a favorite, though, suggests that they are going to score some goals. Of course, they're playing at home, and that's beneficial for them. I just haven't seen Bournemouth play defense than the way Iraola has really made his name for months now, and I feel like that's a big problem. Of course, they've lost a lot of players, sold some, injuries, and all those sort of things, but it just doesn't seem like the same feel. Sunderland, you could say the same thing. The Granit Xhaka injury was difficult for him too. And they've certainly lost some players. AFCON, I think they had the most absentees to the Africa Cup of Nations. But like at this point, Sunderland's 3/4 goal underdog looks interesting as it climbs to a full goal of insurance. I think that's going to be a buy price for me. I'm not sure we'll get there, but we'll see in the early kickoff, 6:30 a.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern time on English Premier League Saturday morning. Go to the big window of games starting, I guess, 3 of them at 9 a.m. Central time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We'll start with Burnley, a 3/4 goal underdog right now at home, with a lot more juice actually on the home team than it is on the away team. That road team is Brentford, who have been awesome this season. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it, tell it, all those sort of things. Total this one's 2.5, and it's juiced pretty heavily to over, though it was juiced a lot more to over recently. So we've seen some under money coming in. I think it reflects Burnley and their really disastrous season, but that was kind of expected with a newly promoted team that didn't really spend a ton. They're bigger underdogs than I made it, but they have been all season because who's backing Burnley at this point? I don't know who trusts them to score goals. And the big question is, can they keep Brentford out? Because Brentford have proven they can score goals no matter how little possession, no matter how many long throws it takes, which is usually not many because no one seems to be able to defend it. Check why Arsenal was leading the league for so long. But to me, Burnley are going to play a low-scoring game at home. They have a big crowd behind them. They won't give up. So it does interest me in both the underdog and the under. Though I'd like to get a little bit more. Love to see this at 2 3/4, so that if you land 3, you push half your bet at least. A little bit more insurance than the current 2.5. Next, we'll go to Liverpool hosting West Ham United. Current Liverpool 1.25 goal favorites with a little bit more juice on the home team at Anfield. 2 cents, minus 109 versus minus 107 on the Hammers. Total in this one is 3.25, and it's juiced more to the under by just those same 2 cents. So not really a huge indicator on where this one will go either direction. Where has it moved? Well, West Ham opened to 1.5 goal underdog when I first saw it. So we're down to 1.25. Juice is pretty much equal. So that tells me that the market does like West Ham a little bit on its travels. I don't know. West Ham have certainly turned things from how bleak it looked early in the year, but they still got a long way to go. Liverpool just have lost so many matches. I think we've seen the reversion to mean all hit them, the reversion monster, really quickly this season, which I was hoping to win a little bit more money before that happened, but it happened fast. It was very profitable early, and they've been better, but Arne Slot have kind of changed the style and strategy, and I think they just made some bad buys, bad decisions, and really thought they were a lot better than they were entering last offseason. As for numbers here, I mean, West Ham, they're a bet below my number. That's bit concerning for me just because going on the road to Anfield is still a really hard thing to do. Losing by a single goal, though, does pay you, and that does interest me at this point. Total's right around where I made it, a little bit above, so I guess I have some under interest, especially crossing three, which is a key number to me and to most in this world. But I think I'll be waiting to see what happens there and what lineups look like. Next, we go to the last of this early window on Saturday, or I guess the second window on Saturday, and we have one more left to go. Newcastle goal favorites at home to Everton. 6 cents more juice on Newcastle right now, and that's about where we've been this whole time. Well, I guess that's where I've been since I was watching it this morning, but early in the week we had Everton with a lot of juice on their side at 3/4 goal underdogs. Total in this one's 2 3/4. Juice is minus 110, the home team, which I was going to say was split, but only 16-cent lines. The Premier League at BetOnline Sports Betting AG. If you're not there and you bet soccer, especially England, hit me up because I'll help you get some referral bonuses in your account. Everton, great defense. Going on the road to Newcastle is going to be really, really tough. They do get Newcastle off of Champions League, which is very helpful, though they had a huge lead, and that didn't really require a ton of expertise at home or using their best lineups is probably the best way to put it. But Everton go on the road and they will not entertain, so I forever lean under with David Moyes' teams. Would love to get 3. It doesn't look like the juice is going to put us there, though. To the nightcap, Leeds host Manchester City. Currently Leeds 3/4 goal underdogs, and they are very juiced on the Manchester City side. So I'm guessing this will move to 1 at some point, and that's not a number I'm certainly waiting for. Total in this one is 2 3/4, juiced all the way to over. It's been that way, though we've actually seen some under money coming in, which does generally correlate to the home underdog as well. I want to be against Man City away from home because I don't think they're as strong as they have been in the past, but they still have that big name attached to them. And Leeds have really been good since switching to a 3-man back line. I expect them to be very defensive in this matchup, so I probably don't like over much at all. But I think the Leeds side is interesting. I would like to feel a little bit more comfortable about Leeds and under, which is probably how, I guess how I'd be expecting to do it if I'm playing it, because unfortunately, I don't expect Leeds to outscore Man City. Moving to Sunday as I fight through the costs. Big window of 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern games, 3 of them on Sunday morning. We'll start with Fulham. They're half a goal favorites at home to Tottenham. All the juice on the Hotspurs away from home. Total in this one is 2 3/4, just a little bit more to under. We've seen this climb from 2.5 to 2 3/4, so that tells me there's initial over money coming in. I'm a little surprised to see Fulham this big of a favorite, I got to say. Yes, things have been horrible at Tottenham, but they still have a much bigger budget and much better players. We'll see if they actually harness all that on Sunday morning. Next, go to Manchester United hosting Crystal Palace. United, a 1-goal favorite with all the juice right now, plus 101 on the Crystal Palace side, actually. So even more than all the juice. Probably heading towards 1.25 before kickoff. Total is 3 in this one, juiced all the way to under. Was 2 3/4, has flown up to 3. And I think we're seeing the byproduct of selling all your best players for 2 seasons, not retaining your manager who did really well. And that's unfortunately putting Crystal Palace in the wrong side, the wrong half of the table for sure. I don't think they're necessarily going to fight relegation, but I mean, this is a big, tough matchup for them going to Manchester United, who's been playing well ever since the manager change, which was hilarious that it took so long. But I think biggest interest for me right now is really Crystal Palace not scoring goals, but defending. I think I want that push on 3, so I lean there under 3 goals. Manchester United hosting Crystal Palace. Last in this 9 a.m. Eastern time window, Brighton, quarter goal favorites at home to Nottingham Forest, coming off of their Europa League midweek, though they had a big lead against Fenerbahce. All the juice right now on Brighton, which is pretty much how it's been, plus 104 currently on Nottingham Forest. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's juiced very heavily to over. Now, Forest have changed managers, and Vitor Pereira is not really my favorite out there. He does like to rotate, and he definitely did that midweek, playing a lot of backups with a 3-0 lead, coming back home to Nottingham after a really successful trip to Istanbul. Brighton have been really talented, but are not a big favorite here because they're really just not that great, I don't think. So I lean to Nottingham Forest. I lean to under, kind of playing that all together, especially because Nottingham Forest basically played all the defense that they had midweek. Should have a much better attacking side, which does put the under a little bit more at threat or under threat, under siege. I don't think Brighton score anywhere near as much as the market seems to think they will every week. Last but not least, Arsenal hosts Chelsea in a big matchup of Champions League contenders, to say the least. Arsenal 1-goal favorites right now. All the juice on Chelsea, though that's been actually getting a little bit cheaper on the Chelsea side. We've seen a little bit of money coming in on Arsenal. And they just, have been carrying the weight of being the favorite to win Premier League all season. That's certainly a tough cross to bear. Total this was 2 3/4, juice split minus 108 each way. Was really juiced to under when I first saw this. So we've seen some over money come in. I think we see some over money come back and push it back towards that 3 number. I don't know if that's a key enough number for me to want to get involved because I don't really trust Chelsea's defense. They're very young. Arsenal will do anything but give up shots and likely give up goals. That makes even a bit above a price above the 3/4 of a goal underdog that I made it. That I guess I lean to the +1. It's a very key number, but it's not a really strong one at this point. So I think it might be a slow one for me late Sunday in the Premier League. No Monday matchup. Next matchup is on Tuesday. So it's time for the ultimate best bet. Let's nominee, which comes end of show, pick my favorite from each of the 5 leagues we cover on this episode. And then I try to get a winner out the door and then try to get on Instagram as quickly as possible before game time. And for the Premier League and this weekend's episode, let's go Crystal Palace under 3 goals. It's my best bet in England. We'll move now to Spain. Let's move over to Spanish La Liga. We did have a match on Friday, but here we are on the Saturday early slate, 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern for the first of 4, I believe. We'll start with Rayo Vallecano hosting Athletic Club Bilbao. Currently, Rayo a -128 pick'em right now. So a lot of juice on the home team, potentially climbing to quarter goal favorites. Total is 2.25 and is juiced very heavily to under, but it's actually seeing some over money hit. Seems like some very little Rayo money has hit as well. I don't see Rayo as a goal scoring team. Athletic Club Bilbao have been horrible this season, a lot because they just weren't really prepared or able to balance Champions League. Total smaller than I made it, but I think that reflects the struggles that both these offenses have had, so it doesn't really scare me away too much. Under in the early kickoff on Saturday feels like a decent shout, especially with no idea what Athletic Club's lineup will look like, considering the saga of Nico Williams and all that's rest of it. And even his brother's been hurt a lot this season. And Iñaki, one of my favorite players in the world. Barcelona then hosts Villarreal as big favorites right now. Villarreal +1.5 goals is, I guess, how I'm saying it because they're the road team, and I always discuss underdogs. More juice on the home team. Barca totals 3.75, juice very heavily to over. We've seen a little bit of money, just 2 cents of juice, switch hands and go to under, but we've seen Villarreal fall from 1.75 goal underdogs to 1.5. That's pretty sizable and does say something that people are betting against Barcelona, but I mean, they haven't been playing great. The High Line's always under threat, under siege. And I think this total is gigantic, a lot because of who Barcelona are, but also that High Line, which I think is forever under threat. Villarreal, yes, are big underdogs on the road at Barca. I don't think Barca ever looks that impressive, though. And Villarreal have been great in La Liga, even if they struggled in the Champions League and were worse in the Copa del Rey. But I guess I lean to the big underdog. 1.5 is in that one. Moving next to Mallorca, hosting Real Sociedad. Currently, Mallorca quarter goal underdogs at home with all the juice, and that's been climbing steadily. Looks like they're going to eventually close pick'em based on how this number's been moving. Total this one's 2.25, juiced very heavily to over, which is a surprise just because Mallorca are literally grind every game out and try to finish 0-0 because they feel like that's a win. Real Sociedad have been playing really well since Pellegrino Matarazzo has come in. I imagine that's going to slow down at some point. I think biggest interest for me is the under 2.25 goals, a little bit more than I like Mallorca. I do take some solace in the market liking Mallorca. I've been tracking them. They've climbed 11 cents now on the side. So that tells me the market's hitting them pretty hard. But until they move to pick them, that's a real statement. We'll see if that ends up happening. To the nightcap, Real Oviedo hosts Atletico Madrid. Currently, Oviedo was a 1-goal underdog, no longer. They're now 3/4 goal underdogs with all the juice. So a lot of money has come in on them. Just busting through +1 to +3/4 of goal with all the juice at the moment. Total's 2.5 in this one, which is actually climbing from 2.25, which doesn't really fit because I would think that this would be betting against Atletico Madrid scoring goals, but the total has dropped. So that's puzzling. I'm interested in Oviedo, but the number's smaller than I made it, and I don't like that we lost to 1 already. I do like under 2.5, and 2.25 would be fine for me in the nightcap on Saturday. Moving to Sunday, Elche hosts Espanyol. Currently, Elche quarter goal favorites at home, which is very different than the market has been treating them for a while. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's used very heavily to under. Espanyol have been great. They've certainly been worse away from home. And honestly, starting the year out, things have not gone great for them. I think La Liga admitted to making some really bad officiating decisions, but welcome to La Liga is basically how I felt. I think Elche, though, I'm surprised to see them as a favorite. Espanyol are always of interest to me, even if they're selling some of their better players. Total also feels a little bit lofty, or it's about what I made it, and it's just very heavily to under, so I guess that's wrong, but it's in the neighborhood, and I feel like road underdog and under does fit against an Elche side that just haven't looked like they were capable to finish this year out after starting the year so hot as a newly promoted club. Moving to the 9:15 Central Time, 10:15 Eastern, Valencia hosting Osasuna on Sunday, the 1st of March, I believe. Osasuna quarter goal underdogs right now with all the juice, plus 101 coming back on the Valencia side. And that's been getting bet pretty heavily from Valencia as a favorite. Not a lot of love for Valencia. Osasuna with a good result last week in Real Madrid as well, so that maybe is playing into it a little bit. And I think there's a marketplace that wants to bet against Valencia at this point. Total's 2.25. Juice pretty heavily to under right now, but not looking like we're going to lose the 2.25. And I certainly am going to be watching out for that. Don't see a lot of goals in that matchup, so under looks interesting there. Real Betis then hosts Sevilla in the Grand Derby in that beautiful place. Sevilla, one of my favorite spots I've visited. Honestly, if you like architecture, which I'm not even sure I'm a buff for that, but it's awesome, and go see it. Right now, spread three quarter goal favorites are Real Betis with all the juice on Sevilla away. Told this one's 2.5, and it's juiced more to the under almost all the way. But we've seen 1 cent drop off and go towards the over since I've been watching it. I expect this matchup to be really physical for all these teams to give every cent, every speck of energy they have. And I think Sevilla they're a bigger underdog than I expected. It's very juiced at the moment. Probably will head back to the half of a goal, which is about what I was expecting. But lean to under 2.5 is bigger than I made it. To the Sunday nightcap, we have Girona hosting Celta Vigo. Currently, Girona a pick'em right now with all the juice at home. And we've seen a lot of money coming in on Girona recently. Total this was 2.5, and it's juiced pretty heavily to under, though a little bit less than earlier in the week. And Girona are interesting to me because they've been playing a lot better since a really poor start to the season. A lot, I think, based on not really knowing what they're going to do transfer-wise, having a manager who's trying to play a certain system without his players, then kind of reformed that system. And I think whatever his name is, has done really, really well. Sorry to say that. But I'm sure there's a lot of Girona FC Orgul Gironi watchers out there. At this point, I think Ruby was there before. Anyway, Celta Vigo playing Europa League midweek. That's something to think about, and certainly it could certainly point to why the spread has moved, as there's potentially some absentees. Though Celta Vigo have been a team of depth for the last 2 seasons, so they probably can withstand it better than most. And we move to the nightcap last matchup of the weekend, which is actually Real Madrid for some reason. They are 1.5 goal favorites at home right now, with actually almost all the juice on Getafe coming off of a trip to Benfica in Champions League. Total this one's 2.5, and it's juiced very heavily to over. This has also fallen from a 2.75 earlier that I've been watching it. Getafe are going to go in and try to kill this game from the beginning. The problem is, can they actually do it? I probably need 3, as that extra push on that landing there would be very, very valuable to me. And Real Madrid can play poorly for 60 minutes and then score 4 goals. Unfortunately, we've seen it many, many times over the years. For my best bet in Spain, let's go with Real Betis and Sevilla under 2.5 goals. Not only do I think that's an incredible match to attend, I think we see a lot of fouls, and I'm a little worried about red cards, but I think that's less likely than 3 goals. I'll put it that way. More likely, less likely than 3 goals. Less likely to lead to 3 goals, maybe is how I meant to say it. But we're live, so that's how it goes. Moving next to Italy, and we'll start with an early matchup on Saturday. It's Como hosting Lecce as big 1.25 goal favorites, though we've seen some money coming in on Como, so it looks like it might even grow even further. Total in this one is 2.25, and it's used very heavily to over, which is saying something because we started at 2.5 when I was watching it, and then got bet basically through 2.5 down to 2.25. That reflects the style that Lecce want to play, which is they can't score goals, so trying to prevent their opponent from doing it. It's not exactly what Como want to do, but they have really done a great job of possessing the ball and not scoring with it. So that's something to think about on the Saturday early side. Verona then hosts Napoli. Currently, Verona 1 goal underdogs right now with more of the juice on the home team. Total in this one is 2.25, and it's juiced very heavily to under, though some over money has been hitting so far. It's amazing to me how much the market has turned against Napoli. They've basically on a fire sale, or at least put a ton of players on loan after trying to get a really deep squad. I wonder, honestly, how long Conte is going to stick around, because he usually hates that and complains, especially after bringing a Scudetto to Southern Italia. But Verona have looked really bad. They sold, like they do every season, their best talent. But even though Giovanni was awesome, and I think that's a big, big problem for him. But total under 2.25 looks interesting. Verona is a full goal of underdog, especially I think there's some bad blood between these clubs from fans in the past. Something about an umbrella and opening it in someone's, you know what? I don't know. Tried to look it up, but then I was like, probably not a good idea on my work computer. But anyway, do like an under in that matchup, and that certainly pushes me towards the home underdog. To the nightcap on Saturday of Inter Milan hosting Genoa. Inter, as I'm wearing their kit after a really rough Champions League. That's what happens when you go and you don't really respect a team in the Arctic Circle of Norway, apparently, that's playing on our official turf. I'm sure we're going to hear about complaints about that forever. But Genoa on the road at Inter, they're 1.5 goal underdogs with more juice on the road team. I wonder if that's a reflection of Champions League midweek. Total in this one's 2 3/4, just a little bit more to under. I think Genoa have proven they can't really score goals. Total's exactly what I made it, so I probably need a little more than that. I want to hit 3, which it doesn't look like based on the juice we'll get there. I do think Inter are going to control this matchup. They're pretty deep, so I don't really expect them to be just going all out with a really rambunctious and motivated club. But now they have the Scudetto to win, and we have that, and they've been leading pretty much all season. So let's just focus on that and let Champions League go by the wayside. Hopefully, not take too much of a hit on the confidence side of things. We'll now move to Sunday. We'll start with Cremonese, 1 goal underdogs at home to Milan. They beat them in the opener in their return to Serie A this season. Right now, all the juice is on the Milan side, so come on, keep betting Milan here. I'll certainly be on the other side of that one. Like the full goal of insurance, but like it even better at 1.25 if they lose by 1. Total in this one is 2.5. Just to split both ways. And Milan, the one thing I'll say about them, I do love the Pulisic and Leao combo, but we've barely seen that this season. But Milan have defended really well, so I do like under there. And Mike Maignan is awesome. Moving next to 8 o'clock on Central Time on Sunday, Sassuolo hosting Atalanta. Currently, Sassuolo a 0.5 goal underdog with more juice on the home team. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's juiced more to the more to the over. Though we've seen some under money hitting, just moving at 1 penny. Sassuolo have been pretty good since coming up, though it looked bleak at the beginning. Atalanta, I'm still interested in being against, especially as a road favorite. Moving next to Torino hosting Lazio. Currently, Torino a pick'em at home with almost all the juice on the Lazio visitor. Total in this one is 2, and it's juiced very heavily to over. I just don't know who's betting overs in Torino matches. Yes, they might be hitting because they're so low, but Lazio haven't done much. They've kind of had a lost season based on the transfer ban this season, starting, I guess, in the summer. I'm interested in under. It's below what I made it, but welcome to a Torino total. Not really interested in a pick 'em on Torino at this point, I must say. So, and actually, we've seen some Lazio money coming in to push them to the favorite at pick 'em. So, because I guess it's switched sides. So it was Torino initially. So we've seen some Lazio money coming in, not a ton, just move them to a quarter goal favorite or something. That's probably where I get interested in Torino, but we don't have that yet. The nightcap on Sunday, the biggest matchup in Italia or Italian Serie A, will go to Roma for Juventus visiting Roma, coming off of Champions League with a big deficit at home to Galatasaray of Turkey. Almost said Fenerbahce, my bad. Juve are a -102 pick'em right now, so almost all the juice on Roma, and we've seen more money coming in on the Roma side. A lot probably because the energy spent in Champions League midweek. Total this one's 2.25, juice all the way to under. We've been seeing a little bit of over money hitting, but I just don't believe in Juve at all. So I like being against them as a pick 'em. So if we push, we money is returned and we don't lose. And lean to under because I feel like that's the style that Roma have played all season, even against a very offensive manager in Gian Piero Gasperini. To Monday, Pisa hosts Bologna. Currently, Pisa a 0.5 goal underdog right now with all the juice. Total in this one is 2.25, and it is juiced more to the over. We've seen some money coming in on Pisa, some on the under. Bologna, I'm not really in a great space with them right now. Pisa, I always lean unders. It's a little bit low below what I made it, and Bologna certainly have scored goals over the last couple seasons. I really like backing Bologna as an underdog, but then they just ran into a bunch of fixtures against the best clubs in their league and in Europa League. That certainly zapped a lot of their energy. Last but not least of this Serie A Giornata, we have Udinese, a quarter goal underdog right now at home with all the juice at home to Fiorentina. Total in this one's 2.5, juice very heavily to under. Fiorentina coming off Conference League, but they should have played literally the youth team to try to stay in this league because they've been in relegation trouble this whole season. With that said, I'm interested in Udinese, even with an extra day of rest for Fiorentina. Total in this one is about what I made it. I feel like I'm just maybe done with Udinese unders at this point, but I do like them as a side. For my best bet in the Italian Serie A, let's go with Roma, a pick'em at home to Juventus. Moving now to Ligue 1 in France, and let's get over to that. Then we have German Bundesliga, and that'll close us out on this episode of the Betting the Pitch podcast. But I will, of course, give out a best bet. I do want to shout out some new YouTube subscribers. So we've been climbing above the 250 mark. I really appreciate that. We'll start on Saturday morning with Rennes hosting Toulouse with surprise change of managers, but I guess that was hinted for a while. Toulouse, a very juiced half a goal underdog right now on the road at Rennes. Total is 2.5 in this one, and it's juiced more to the under. I mean, Rennes are going to be the defensive team, and Toulouse are the goal scorers. So that you can kind of take that how you want. It's interesting to me a little bit to have a home underdog, or excuse me, a road underdog that can score. Rennes, we'll see what they're going to do under a new manager, but I really liked Habib Bey while he was there, and thought he orchestrated a great turnaround for a club that was kind of lost and figuring it out. Spread's a little bit bigger than I made it, so I'll lean to Toulouse in that matchup. I guess I lean to under, though it's a little less than I made it. So we'll move next to Monaco hosting Angers. Monaco coming off of Champions League on the road at Paris Saint-Germain midweek. Monaco 1.25 goal favorites right now with almost all the juice on Angers. I think a lot because of Champions League. Total in this one is 2.75, and it is used very heavily to over. That makes me very interested to get a 3 here potentially because I just can never trust Angers to score goals. They defend really well. They've been a great under team and great team to back, honestly, for a while. I'll be waiting to see if that hits 3. To Saturday's nightcap, we have Le Havre hosting PSG. Le Havre 1.75 goal underdogs with all the juice at home, potentially falling to 1.5, but I feel like PSG money always comes in. Total's 3.25, just more to the under here, about what I made it. Lean to the home underdog, though. It's the best spot to get PSG coming off of Champions League when they didn't have it secure and had to play their best, or would have played their best, but didn't have Ousmane Dembele. And I don't think that was because he just didn't want to play in the matchup. To Sunday, we'll start with Paris, the other version, FC Paris hosting Nice. Currently, Nice a quarter goal underdog right now with all the juice. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's just a little bit more to over. It's pretty low total, I think, but Paris has not really been great this season. I don't know what it would take me to back Nice, but I don't really trust them whatsoever. To the big window at 10:15 Central Time. Bizarre start time, but welcome to France. We have SC Metz. They are a quarter goal underdog at home to Brest. All the juice on Brest right now, potentially climbing to a half of a goal underdog at home. Totals 2.5, and it's juiced very heavily to under. I feel like Mets totals have really dried and gotten really small, actually, is a better way to put it. Lean to the home underdog and under because those things correlate. And I just don't know that Stade Brestois are going to continue just to outwork their opponents and win all these matches away from home, even though they're arguably more talented. But I still feel like they're overrated from Champions League a couple seasons ago. Lorient then hosts Angers. Currently, Lorient a half a goal underdog at half a goal favorite at home. Excuse me. All the juice on Angers right now. Total in this one is 2.5. Excuse me, 2.25. She's very heavily to under. Man, this one's tripping me up big time. Angers have been really competitive. It's scary to go against Lorient, who've been the darlings of Ligue 1 and the betting market pretty much the last 2-3 months, however long it's been. But Angers are going to give you a game. They're going to play really good defense and really fight you. And I really like what I saw when they played PSG a few weeks ago, a month ago now, and feel like they can certainly put out an effort like that on the road at Lorient. Especially the spread that's bigger than I made it. Next, go to Nantes on the road at Lille, coming off of their own Champions League, or excuse me, Europa League with Crvena Zvezda in Belgrade. Nantes called 1.25 goal underdogs with all the juice right now, potentially falling to that +1, though the books certainly don't want it there, so they're probably going to leave it as juiced -120 or so as it is right now. Total this one's 2.75, juice more to the under. I mean, Nantes look as in trouble as they've been, though they've gotten out of it for many years, and there is a relegation playoff for if you finish in 16th out of 18. That's of value. But going on the road to Lille, I don't trust them to hang around. It's just going to be try to keep this as low scoring as possible. That might be one that I skip because Lille, no matter how tired they are for midweek, they're still more talented. To the Classique, maybe. I feel like that's actually Marseille and PSG, but the Olympique, maybe, of Marseille hosting Lyon. Great matchup. I do feel like Lyon are a little bit overpriced here. Half a goal underdogs on the road. Yes, a lot of juice, but I'm interested in that. Total in this one is 2.75, just more to the over. And Lyon are very much of interest to me at this point. I think they are Just as talented, have survived the transfer ban or whatever they did. They did make some moves, so I guess it wasn't a full ban, half Windsor, half Nelson. But Lyon, I think, are a really talented team, and I like what they've done so far. So I'm pretty interested there. For my best bet in France, let's go with Lyon, half goal underdogs on the road at Marseille. That will be a battle, but a really interesting one, and I'm very much looking forward to watching that one. Last but not least, we get the German Bundesliga. We'll start with TSG Hoffenheim hosting FC St. Pauli. As one team scores goals, the other just does everything it can not to concede. Not sure that's a great matchup to watch, but it should be interesting. St. Pauli 1.25 goal underdogs right now, up from +1. I think that reflects how these teams have done this season. Total this one 2 3/4. She's all the way to under. Um, yes, that's the way I lean, but it's below that key number of 3, so it's not enough for me right now. Moving next to Leverkusen hosting Mainz. Currently, Leverkusen a 3/4 goal underdog with a little bit more juice on the Mainz road team, coming down from a very juice +1. Leverkusen coming off Champions League midweek. Total this one's 2 3/4, juiced very heavily to over. Was 3 as well. Pretty much, I've lost my +1 and my 3, so the key numbers. So I'm waiting for them to come back before I get involved. The 3 looks a lot more likely than the +1, so that might be it for me. And we got to wait. Borussia Mönchengladbach then hosts Union Berlin. Currently, Gladbach a quarter goal favorite right now, and that has climbed from a pick'em with a lot of juice. All the juice right now is on Union Berlin, so that's probably going to trip between those two. Total is 2.25 right here. Juiced very heavily to over, but less than earlier. So we've seen some money getting bet towards under. I lean to both. I think on home favorite is not one I trust to score goals. They haven't been really playing great. Sacked a manager early this season, then kind of stabilized, and have been a little bit floundering since. Werder Bremen then hosts FC Heidenheim. Currently Bremen a 3/4 goal favorite right now with more juice on the home team slightly. Told this one's 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. I'm pretty interested in Heidenheim. Just they've been so bad. That's a big problem, but Werder Bremen having to win by multiple goals is a lot to ask. I'll put it that way. I do think they can do it. I think I need a +1 before I get involved. To the top spiel, the biggest matchup in the German Bundesliga, and that is Der Klassiker with Dortmund, a 1 goal underdog at home with almost all the juice. Total in this one is 3 3/4, and it is juiced very heavily to under. I wish Dortmund didn't have Champions League midweek while Bayern Munich had a bye. But here we are, especially now on the road at Atalanta. Not great, but they did have a lead, and that helped. Do like the +1, but Bayern Munich have been a well-oiled machine, and they kill them a lot in this game. Only thing I could look at was Dortmund because this could be a really high-scoring game. Don't like that for an under, I must say. To Sunday, we'll start with Stuttgart hosting Waffe. Excuse me, that's them. Waffe Stuttgart hosting Waffe Wolfsburg. Currently, Wolfsburg a 1.25 goal underdog right now with almost all the juice. Total in this one is 3.25, and it is juiced very heavily to over, even money right now to the under. Wolfsburg want to not let you score goals. I do like that it's on the other side of 3, but Stuttgart want to score, and that's a scary thing to play under with. Eintracht Frankfurt then hosts Sportclub Freiburg. Currently, Eintracht a quarter goal favorite right now with all the juice. And that's seen actually a fair amount of money coming in on Frankfurt, which they're a better club with more talent, but they haven't played like this year and surrendered a lot of goals. The big question is, how does Freiburg play against the big boys? But is Eintracht Frankfurt still one of those? Total this one's 2 3/4, just pretty heavily to under, though we've seen some over money hitting. I would expect over money to continue, and this feels like a small total. I actually like an over. There it is. Longtime Patreon subscriber, Joseph Dollar. There is an over for you on this card. Finally, finally, finally. Sunday, 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern. Eintracht Frankfurt, Freiburg, over 2 3/4. Looks interesting to me in that one. Last but not least, we have a Sunday with Hamburg, quarter goal underdogs right now at home to Leipzig. Total in this one is 3, and it's juiced the same way it's been juiced, and so has the side. So not a lot of betting has come in this one, or at least it's been very even. Hamburg seemed like a pretty slight favorite, or excuse me, slight underdog to me based on where I was expecting Leipzig to be a much bigger favorite. I'll put it that way. Clearly, that's not the case. I'm gonna have to investigate why that is. But lean to the home underdog as I always do. Lean to the under, but Leipzig are not an under type of team. So I don't know if I want to cheapen or potentially juice out on a home underdog bet by playing under. So it might just be Hamburg alone in that matchup on Sunday. For my best bet from the German Bundesliga, let us go. It's a real hold your nose, but Stuttgart, especially playing midweek. I think they played in Europa League, if I'm not mistaken. VfL Wolfsburg are going to do everything they can to defend. So let's go Wolfsburg under 3.25 goals. So it's probably not going to be on my list for the ultimate best bet. That brings us to the end of this show. We are almost there for the ultimate best bet. Thank you all for hanging around. If you could hit the subscribe button, Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, it's called Betting the Pitch. If you're on YouTube at the real underscore G Warner, that is certainly something that I appreciate. I want to see and make sure that I don't forget any of the new subscribers that have come in. Of course, the long time subscribers I really appreciate, but new. Okay, that's not going where I want. Come on, come on, come on, give it to me. Of course. Okay, no new names because I guess I don't get those emails from YouTube anymore. But we have climbed above the 250 mark. I really appreciate that. Long way to go until we get ads, so you don't have to worry about that for a long, long time. But it's been a good run. I wish I could see the subscribers on the other platforms, but they don't really tell me that, unfortunately. But thank you if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts, of course. Support's huge. And if you want some college basketball content, go look the episode below. You can find the Need for Seeds college basketball for February 28th with A. Brooks Betts and longtime college basketball partner of mine, Big East Ben, plus some new faces coming in as we're just getting more and more bodies in these things that makes the editing even more difficult. But for my best bet from the ultimate best bet nominees from England, I like Crystal Palace under 3 goals. In La Liga in Spain, I like Sevilla under 2.5. Serie A in Italy, I like Roma as a pick'em. Ligue 1 in France, I like Lyon, a half-a-goal underdog. And in the German Bundesliga, I'll go under 3.25 goals. VfL Wolfsburg at Stuttgart. But for the ultimate best bet, you can grade me on in this episode. Let's go with Roma, a pick'em at home to Juventus, coming off Champions League midweek. And we'll see you soon on the next episode coming out next week.